In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. All right. Remember the introductory paragraph, including thesis statement, including dress code. For you guys ever gonna get sport coats, by the way? You guys ever gonna get sport coats?
I have one.
Please wear it to school.
I gotta get it.
Yes, you do. Please, by Monday. I'm sorry? Do Thursday night, so then we can spend some time. I can spend some time with each of you on Friday, working some more on these. Next week we'll have a first draft due. Poems on the 29th, so you've got a week and 2 days. Hopefully you've mostly got your poem down, and that'll be that. All right, so I'll read our 2 sonnets, and then we'll go back to Homer. Jack, your sport coat today?
I'm not. Okay.
On first looking into Chapman's Homer by John Keats. Much have I traveled in the realms of gold, and many goodly states and kingdoms seen. Round many western islands have I been, which bards in fealty to Apollo hold. Oft of one wide expanse had I been told, I breathed its pure serene till I heard Chapman speak out loud and bold. Then felt I like some watcher of the skies, when a new planet swims into his ken. Or like stout Cortez, when with eagle eyes he stared at the Pacific, and all his men looked at each other with wild surmise, silent upon a peak in Darien. The opening of the Odyssey by Homer, translated by Alexander Pope. The man for wisdom's various arts renowned, long exercised in woes, O muse resound, who when his arms had wrought the destined fall of sacred Troy, and raised her heaven-built wall, wandering from clime to clime, observant strayed, their manners noted, and their states surveyed. On stormy seas, unnumbered toils he bore, safe with his friends to gain his natal shore. Vain toils, their impious folly dared to prey on herds devoted to the god of day. The god vindictive doomed them nevermore, amen unblessed, to touch that natal shore. O snatch some portion of these acts from fate, celestial muse, and to our world relate. So in book 16, Odysseus has finally made it back to Ithaca and has just seen his son Telemachus for the first time in 20 years. Odysseus is still in disguise. And Telemachus also has just returned from a voyage, his voyage that he went on to go to Nestor and Menelaus and get news about his father. And Telemachus has just returned, and he too is keeping himself hidden until he can figure out what to do about the suitors. He's not sure how the situation, or whether the situation has changed while he was gone. So they happen to go to the same place. Eumaeus, this pig herder, whom they both know is loyal to their family. Odysseus had gotten there first. After he hides his ship, goes to Eumaeus, guessing that he's going to be loyal. And Telemachus does the same thing on his return from his voyage. And so the two of them have just met and had this brief conversation on pages 341 and 342, where Telemachus is still unaware of who Odysseus is because he's still in disguise. Odysseus obviously knows who Telemachus is, but not the other way around. And I especially like Homer's touch here at the beginning of Odysseus' speech in line 100, and then at the beginning of Telemachus' speech in line 126 or so. Each one calls the other one friend, and the word in Greek for friend means dear one. All right. And then Telemachus sends Eumaeus to let his mother know that he's back. He's not going to go himself back to his house until he figures out what to do with the suitors. So we'll start on page 343, about halfway down, line 175. That roused Eumaeus, The swineherd grasped his sandals, strapped them onto his feet, and made for town. His exit did not escape Athena's notice. Approaching closer, now she appeared a woman, beautiful, tall, and skilled at weaving lovely things. Just at the shelter's door she stopped, visible to Odysseus, but Telemachus could not, cringing away in terror through the yard. She gave a sign with her brows. Odysseus caught it. Out of the lodge he went and passed the high stockade and stood before the goddess. Athena urged him on, "Royal son of Laertes, Odysseus, old campaigner, now is the time. Now tell your son the truth. Hold nothing back so the two of you can plot the suitor's doom and then set out for town. I myself won't lag behind you long. I'm blazing for battle." Athena stroked him with her golden wand. First, she made the cloak and shirt on his body fresh and clean, then made him taller, supple, young. His ruddy tan came back, the cut of his jawline firmed, and the dark beard clustered black around his chin. Her work complete, she went her way once more, and Odysseus returned to the lodge. His own son gazed at him, wonderstruck, terrified too, turning his eyes away suddenly. This must be some god. And he let fly with a burst of exclamations, "Friend, you're a new man. Not what I saw before. Your clothes, they've changed. Even your skin has changed. Surely you are some god who rules the vaulting skies. Well, be kind and we will give you offerings, gifts of hammered gold to warm your heart. Spare us, please, I beg you." "No, I am not a god," the long-enduring great Odysseus returned. "Why confuse me with one who never dies? No, I am your father, the Odysseus you wept for all your days. You bore a world of pain, the cruel abuse of men." And with those words, Odysseus kissed his son, and the tears streamed down his cheeks and wet the ground, though before he'd always reined his emotions back. But still not convinced that it was his father, Telemachus broke out wild with disbelief. "No, you're not Odysseus, not my father. Just some spirit spellbinding me now, to make me ache with sorrow all the more. Impossible for a mortal to work such marvels, not with his own devices, not unless some god comes down in person, eager to make us." Odysseus, man of exploits, urged his son. "It's wrong to marvel, carried away in wonder so, to see your father here before your eyes. No other Odysseus will ever return to you. That man and I are one, the man you see here after many hardships, endless wanderings. After 20 years, I have come home to native moment a young man, decked out in handsome clothes about my body. It's light work for the gods who rule the skies to exalt a mortal man or bring him low." At that, Odysseus sat down again, and Telemachus threw his arms around his great father, sobbing uncontrollably as the deep desire for tears welled up in both. They cried out shrilling cries, pulsing sharper than birds of prey, eagles, vultures with hooked claws, when farmers plunder their nest of young too young to fly. Both men so filled with compassion, eyes streaming tears, that now the sunlight would have set upon their cries if Telemachus had not asked his father all at once, "What sort of ship, dear father, brought you here? Ithaca at last. Who did the sailors say they are? I hardly think you came back home on foot." So long in exile, great Odysseus replied, "Surely, my son, I'll tell you the whole story now. Phaeacians brought me here, the famous sailors who ferry home all men in golden robes. All lie stowed in a cave thanks to the gods' help. And Athena's inspiration spurred me here now so we could plan the slaughter of our foes. Come, give me the full tally of these suitors. I must know their numbers, gauge their strength. Then I'll deploy this old tactician's wits, decide if the two of us can take them on alone, without allies, or we should hunt reserves to back us up." "Father," clear-headed Telemachus countered quickly, "all my life I've heard of your great fame, a brave man in war and a deep mind in council. But what you say dumbfounds me, staggers imagination. How on earth could two men fight so many and so strong? These suitors are not just 10 or 20, they're far more. You count them up for yourself now, take a moment. From Dulichion, 52 of them, picked young men, 6 servants in their troop. From Sami, 24, from Zacynthus, 20 Achaeans, nobles all, and the 12 best lords from Ithaca itself. Medon the heralds with them, a gifted bard, and 2 henchmen skilled to carve their meat. If we pit ourselves against all these in the house, I fear the revenge you come back home to take will recoil on our heads, a bitter, deadly blow. Think, can you come up with a friend in arms, some man to fight beside us, some brave heart?" "Let me tell you," the old soldier said. "Bear it in mind now, listen to me closely, boys. 2 great champions those you name, it's true. Off in the clouds they sit, and they lord it over gods and mortal men. Trust me, his seasoned father reassured him. They won't hold off long from the cries and clash of battle, not when we and the suitors put our fighting strength to proof in my own halls. But now with daybreak, home you go, and mix with that overbearing crowd. The swineherd will lead me into the city later, looking old and broken, a beggar once again. If they abuse me in the palace, steel yourself. No matter what outrage I must suffer, even if they drag me through our house by the heels or throw me out or pelt me with things they hurl, you just look on, endure it. Prompt them to quit their wild, reckless ways. Try to win them over with friendly words. Those men will never listen. Now the day of doom is hovering at their heads. One more thing. Take it to heart, I urge you. When Athena, queen of tactics, tells me it is time, I'll give you a nod. And when you catch that signal, round up all the deadly weapons kept in the hall. Stow them away upstairs in a storeroom's deep recess, all the arms and armor. And when the suitors miss them and ask you questions, put them off with a winning story. I stowed them away, clear of the smoke. Afar in cups a quarrel might break out. You'd wound each other, shame your feasting here, and cast a pall on your courting. Iron has powers to draw man to ruin. Zeus in his wisdom, they will daze the suitors' wits. Now one last thing. Bear it in mind, you must. If you are my own true son, born of my blood, let no one hear that Odysseus has come home. Don't let Laertes know, not Eumaeus either. None in the household, not Penelope herself. You and I alone will assess the women's mood, and we might test a few of the serving men as well. Where are the ones who still respect us both, who hold us in awe, and who shirk their duties, slighting you because you are so young? Soon enough, father, his gallant son replied. You'll sense the courage in roaming around our holdings, probing the field hands man by man, while the suitors sit at ease in our house, devouring all our goods. Those brazen rascals never spare a scrap. But I do advise you to sound the women out, who are disloyal to you, who are guiltless. The men, I say no to testing them farm by farm. That's work for later, if you have really seen a sign from Zeus, whose shield is storm and thunder. Once Eumaeus is gone, Athena arrives and changes Odysseus' appearance back to his younger self. He says, you must be a god. Appearance changing like that. He doesn't believe it at first. Then he thinks this is something. And the first thing that their conversation turns to is what? In 345, Telemachus says, how did you get here? And Odysseus says, yes, well, the Phaeacians got me here. He doesn't bother giving more information than that. What does Odysseus turn his mind to right away once he and his son have been introduced to each other, so to speak? Where do Odysseus' thoughts turn to? On page 346. On 346. After he tells Telemachus says, how did he... Yes. Who are their foes? Who are Telemachus and Odysseus' foes? Their enemies. Who are they? Suitors. Right. Can we take them on just the two of us, or do we need others? Telemachus is not so sure about this. He counts off all the suitors for Odysseus. And is Odysseus discouraged by the large number of suitors?
No.
No, what does he say?
Yes, Telemachus, if no, maybe they have to ask God.
They don't need to ask. Athena has already told Odysseus when she appeared to him.
Like the great heart buried in mine. So that's how he feels. Just buried in mine now, listening to me go to sleep, thankful.
Yes. What does he say? Will Athena, flanked by Father Zeus, do for the two of us? Or shall I rack my brains for another champion? Or do you think that that's enough? Athena, when she spoke to Odysseus just before taking him out of the disguise, at the top of 342, she said, sorry, not 342, top of 344, she says, I myself won't lag behind you long. I'm blazing for a battle. Athena, this war goddess, and her father, the king of gods and men, are going to be fighting. What's the plan that he tells Telemachus on 347? It's this plan that Odysseus comes up with.
Effect all the weapon of the room.
Sorry?
To bring away all the weapons that are in the room.
Right. So in this hall where the suitors have been partying, there are weapons displayed there. And at some point, Odysseus is going to give Telemachus a signal to take them all down and put them away. Well, yeah, of course they'll notice. And so what is Telemachus supposed to say if the suitors ask him what he's doing?
Where's that on?
You have to clear from the smoke.
Right. He says these aren't like what they used to be.
They're eating?
Oh, while they're in their cups, they might break out and wound each other.
Yeah, what is Telemachus supposed to say he's worried about? And do what?
Right?
Right. When you're in your cups, when you're drinking, a quarrel might break out. You'd wound each other. Hmm?
That's what they mean by the cup game.
Yeah,
Oh.
drinking, yeah. So when you're drinking, maybe you guys will start fighting with each other, and then if there are weapons around, that could get ugly. You'd wound each other. Shame you're feasting here. Iron has powers to draw a man to ruin. Okay, so that's the excuses Telemachus is supposed to give. What else is Telemachus supposed to do? There's one thing before and one thing after.
Just to leave a pair of swords and a pair of spears and a pair of oxhide.
Yeah, buckler is a shield. It's a shield made out of ox hide. Wait,
So
leave these.
weapons for themselves.
Right, for the two of them, right? 2 swords, 2 spears, 2 shields. That's what he's supposed to do after he takes these other weapons away. Actually, there are a couple more things. What's going to happen before Telemachus hides away the weapons? So right now, remember, Odysseus and Telemachus are at Eumaeus' hut.
He said, well,
What does Odysseus tell Telemachus to do in the first part of this speech on 347?
how long you want his back?
So yeah, that's the last thing that he says, is don't tell anybody so we can figure out who's still loyal to us. On 348, he says, don't tell anybody. Not my father, not my wife, not even Eumaeus. But what is Telemachus supposed to do before hiding these weapons? What does Odysseus tell him before he tells him to put the weapons in storage? In 347.
To go.
Barbarian crowd. Go hang out with them. What's Odysseus going to do? Well, Telemachus goes home and hangs out with the suitors.
He's gonna do this swine.
Mm-hmm. He's
He's
going
gonna bring him to the city.
to, Eumaeus, the swiner, is going to bring him to the city. And what does Odysseus think is going to happen when he gets there?
I think he's gonna get abused.
Yeah, who's going to abuse him? The suitors, right. He says, if they abuse me in the palace, steal yourself. Even if they drag me through a house by the heels and throw me out or pelt me with things they hurl, how is Telemachus supposed to respond?
He's supposed to just let him.
Just let them. They don't spring his defense or anything. But do what instead?
Promote them to stop. Or tell them to stop.
Right, encourage them to stop. Try to persuade them, convince them. It's the last warning. But don't actually physically stop them. Yes. All right.
Well, what's the point? You might as well just go with these people.
Well, so for one thing, Odysseus himself hasn't had any experience with these suitors yet. That might be part of why he wants to do this. He wants to see what really is going on here. And this last warning, there's something sort of theatrical about it. And we'll see what happens. All right, so continuing from the bottom of 348, line 356. Now his father and son conspired, shaping plans. The ship that brought the prince and shipmates back from Pylos was just approaching Ithaca, home port. As soon as they put into the harbor's deep bay, they hauled the black vessel up onto dry land, and eager deckhands bore away their gear and rushed the priceless gifts to Clytius' house. But they sent a herald onto Odysseus' halls at once to give the news to thoughtful, cautious Penelope that Telemachus was home, just up country now, but he'd told his mates to sail across to port, so the noble queen would not be seized with fright and break down in tears. And now those two men met, herald and swineherd, both out on the same errand to give the queen the news. But once they reached the house of the royal king, the herald strode up into the serving women's midst and burst out, "Your beloved son, my queen, is home at last." Eumaeus, though, bending close to Penelope, whispered every word that her dear son entrusted him to say. Message told in full, he left the halls and precincts, heading for his pigs. But the news shook the suitors, dashed their spirits. Out of the halls they crowded, past the high-walled court, and there before the gates they sat in council. Polybus' son Eurymachus opened up among them. "Friends, what a fine piece of work he's carried off! Telemachus, what insolence! And we thought his little jaunt would come to grief. Up now, launch a black ship, the best we can find. Muster a crew of oarsmen. Row the news to our friends in ambush fast. Bring them back at once." And just then, he calling his friends, "No need for a message now. They're home, look there." Some god gave them the news, or they saw the prince's ship go sailing past and failed to overtake her. Rising, all trooped down to the water's edge as the cruel crew hauled the vessel up onto dry land, and the hot-blooded hands bore off their gear. Then in a pack they went to the meeting grounds, suffering no one else, young or old, to sit among them. Eupeithes' son Antinous rose and harangued them all. And once the sun went down, we'd never sleep the night ashore, never. Always aboard our swift ship, cruising till dawn, patrolling to catch Telemachus, kill him on the spot. And all the while, some spirit whisked him home. So here at home we'll plot his certain death. He must never slip through our hands again, that boy, while he still lives. I swear we'll never bring our venture off. The clever little schemer, he does have his skills, and the crowds no longer show us favor, not at all. So act before he can gather his people in assembly. He'll never give in an inch, I know. He'll rise and rage away, shouting out to them all how we schemed his sudden death but never caught him. Hearing of our foul play, they'll hardly sing our praises. Why, they might do us damage, run us off our lands, drive us abroad to hunt for strangers' shores. Strike first, I say, and kill him, clear of town in the fields or on the road. Then we'll seize his estates and worldly goods, carve them up between us, share alike. But as for his palace, let his mother keep it, she and the man she weds. There's my plan. If you find it offensive, if you want him living on in full command of his patrimony, gather here no more then, living the life of kings, consuming all his wealth. Each from his own house must try to win her, showering her with gifts. Then she can marry the one who offers most, the man marked out by fate to be her husband. That brought them all to a hushed, stunned silence, till Amphinomus rose to have his say among them. The noted son of Nisus, King Aretes' grandson, the chief who led the suitors from Dulichion, land of grass and grains, and the man who pleased Penelope the most, thanks to his timely words and clear good sense. Concerned for their welfare now, he stood and argued, "Friends, I have no desire to kill Telemachus, not I. It's a terrible thing to shed the blood of kings. Wait, sound out the will of the gods, that first. If the decrees of mighty Zeus commend the work, I'll kill the prince myself and spur on all the rest. If the gods are against it, then I say hold back." So Amphinomus urged and won them over. They rose at once, returned to Odysseus' palace, entered, and took their seats on burnished chairs. We have Odysseus and Telemachus making plans in Eumedes' hut. While that's going on, what happens with the suitors? What do the suitors do?
They were waiting for Telemachus to kill him.
Right, so they weren't expecting him to get back at all. Remember that they had sent this ship with some of the suitors on it to wait for him and kill him at sea. But then his ship arrives home. Remember, Telemachus had gotten off the ship early, just by himself. So the ship arrives, and the news goes out to everybody. Telemachus is back. Just after that, the rest of the suitors who were on that ship trying to ambush him arrive. This is not what the suitors were hoping for. That was an important opportunity for them to get rid of Telemachus, and they missed it. And what's their concern? What might happen next? They have no idea that Odysseus is back. But what are they concerned is going to happen next? What do they think Telemachus might do? What are they concerned that Telemachus might do? Here on page 350. What are they worried that? Sorry, Antinous here. Why does he say we have to kill him now?
So you don't slip to their hand.
He already has, right? They're worried that he'll sneak away again. But there's a reason why it's
Because he's already
Then-
been safe from the ship, and
well, that's what they did. This is how they tried to kill him before. But what are the suitors worried that Telemachus is going to do? They're worried that now he's going to pose a direct threat to them.
He's clever.
He's clever. So what are they worried that he's going to do? Nothing about Penelope here. They're not worried about Telemachus going off on his voyage, back in book 2. He gathered the people of Ithaca and complained about the suitors to them. Now he's come back. They say, so act before he can gather his people in assembly. He'll never give in an inch, I know. He'll rise and rage away, shouting out to them all how we schemed of his sudden death, but never caught him. Hearing of our foul play, they'll hardly sing our praises. Why, they might do us damage, run us off our lands, drive us abroad to hunt for strangers. The people of Ithaca have started to turn against the suitors. And if Telemachus, after, probably because of Telemachus' speech about how they're acting so outrageously, Telemachus comes back and says, they tried to kill me, they might have a real serious issue on their hands, an uprising against them. That's their concern here. So they're going to try to kill him right away, and then somebody can marry Penelope. Stern.
What, he led the suitors? Definitely.
Well, so why doesn't he have any desire to kill Telemachus? He has good reason to want to kill Telemachus.
They shed the blood of the king.
Is what?
It's a disgrace.
It's a terrible thing to shed the blood of a king. He says, if the decrees of mighty Zeus commend the work,
Smart man.
and Phenemus says, let's figure out the will of the gods first. Because king killing, I'm not so sure about that. Right? This thing where we're, kind of fudging the rules of hospitality, trying to get his mother to marry us, that's one thing. Outright killing, Telemachus here, Amphinous is sort of recognizing that he's now stepping into this role of king of Ithaca. All right.
Let's